everybody. You've got to inspire.
Break through as they run out onto the mighty Melbourne Arena.
They've billed it the Battle of the Bridge. As the Sydney Derby enters year 2, tensions are growing between the GWS Giants and the Sydney Swans. The Giants have been impressive in the pre-season and hopes are high that they'll be much more competitive both this afternoon and in season 2013. And a sensational day at ANZ Stadium as they play their first match for season 2013. So let's go upstairs to Paul Roos and Dermot Prairie.
Thank you very much, Anthony Hudson. Paul Roos, choo-choo, the red and the white, the reigning premiers onto the field.
Yeah, look, we talked before, Dermot. I mean, both you and I think it'll be a little bit closer than perhaps what some people think. You've got a Sydney Swans team that's a little bit underdone, as the premiers normally are coming into the following season, against a young Giants team that's got one more pre-season under their belt.
Well, they're a year older now, these boys. They've got some serious talent within these ranks, but a lot of people think, you know, they're talking, gee, just about three-figure margin here. I've got a feeling these boys might stay with them at least into the second half.
Yeah, I think last year we saw the Giants' talent, but we saw them run out of petrol about 15, 20-minute mark of each quarter, and then they got run over in the last sort of 10 minutes. My expectation would be that, you know, that the challenge for them is can they stay with the Swans over 120 minutes. I think they're going to be a lot more competitive for longer this year, but a big challenge against the Swans.
Let's have a look at your Sydney Swans tail of the tape and where they're lining up.
Yeah, look, it's obviously a terrific Sydney Swans side. You've got Armstrong, who's starting on the bench. Dane Rampy comes in for his first game. It's a great story. He's a 22, 23-year-old. Played at Uni in New South Wales last year. They won the premiership in the Sydney Football League. Grundy Richards, fantastic last year. That, you know, defensive post, really good. Kieran Jack, the new captain, is a great story as well.
We have a look at the GWS team. Davis down back, the captain of the team. Ward in the middle. Patton and Cameron up forward. But the on-ballers, Giles Leach, Treloar, Green, Ward, Hoskin, Elliott, Whitfield, the number 1, Sumner and Shields as well. But this fella up board, as an 18-year-old, 6'5.5" and over 100 kilos, there's a fair bit of him.
Yeah, I think those that think that the Giants are ahead of the Suns think on the back of Patton and Cameron. I mean, two big talls can make a huge difference. Had a tough run with injuries last year, particularly leading into the season, but looks fit and healthy and looks set for a good year.
One thing you have to look out for him, if you see real balance on this man, for a huge kid, he takes very small steps, which tells me he's got really good balance. He balances up very quickly when he's having a shot at goal. So there's a fair bit of agility about this bloke who's around 104, 105 kilos.
Yeah, look, he's a big guy. And whether Grundy or Richards took Buddy Franklin in the grand final last year, but I suspect maybe Grundy will take Patton today.
Rosie will be back after the break with Cam Mooney and Anthony Hudson. It's the GWS and the Swans coming up.
It's a warm one at ANZ Stadium. It's billed as the Battle of the Bridge. Tensions will be high between the Giants and the Swans, and we're ready to get underway with the national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, to celebrate the opening round of the 2013 Toyota AFL Premiership season, please welcome inaugural GWS Giants coach and member of the Australian Football Hall of Fame, Kevin Sheedy. Kevin will present the match ball to the umpires for today's game, and also joining us is Lieutenant Jeffrey Evans from the Special Operations Task Group of the Australian Army. Would you now please join with the coaches, players and umpires as we stand for the Australian National Anthem.
a start to the new season for the GWS Giants, having to take on the reigning premiers. There's a bit of feeling in this one as we go down to Cameron Mooney on a warm afternoon in Sydney. Welcome, Moons.
Yeah, thanks you, Hutto, and you're right, it is a beautiful day down here. Sydney really has put it on for us, and look, really looking forward today to seeing what the young Giants can do. We know it's their second year into the competition, but really looking forward to seeing what #1 draft pick Lachie Whitfield can bring to the table today. Just spoke with Sheeds a bit earlier. He is going to start on the ground today, probably out on the wing. He might end up with young Leroy Jetta as well. So, look, #1 draft pick from last season, late medal under-18 2012 winner as well from the Dandenong Stingrays. This kid has got talent to burn. He knows how to win the ball. Silky left footer. Really looking forward to what today was.
Thanks, Moons. Yeah, looking forward to that. And some of the other youngsters, Lockie Plowman, another who's come straight in as a high draft pick. He'll be in defence. Well, we mentioned there's a bit of tension. The tension growing between these two sides, as we expect. But one of the reasons it's just gone up a little notch or two is because the Giants have said that this game is the battle of the bridge, something the Swans, and including our co-commentator Paul Rue, has taken a bit of an exception to. Josh Kennedy had his say on.
Don't really understand it. Obviously, we are the Sydney Swans, proudly Sydney. We're not the East Sydney Swans. They can be GWS. They can try and take our fans from Western Sydney, but we are Sydney Swans, the whole of Sydney.
Rosie, that was the sentiment of your article. I guess the whole thing that the Giants are trying to do is make it East versus West, and they're trying to claim the West, and they think this is a good way of making it, drumming up a bit more publicity about it all.
Yeah, I think it's a bit disrespectful of the Swans, to be honest. I mean, Sydney Swans versus Greater Western Sydney Giants, so I'm not sure the bridge has anything to do with it. What the Giants have to do is establish their own group of supporters, their own fan base, because if all they do is try and take the Swans one away, neither team will be successful and neither team will be able to make money. So now it's up to them to establish their own identity. We've already talked about they've got some really good young kids, but they need to establish an identity in their area and cater for their fans.
Do I have a giggle now, Rosie, or
you can have a giggle, don't you?
come on, tool marketing.
Don't put in his back.
All right.
There we go. Laying down the law.
This is not marketing. This is a bit of niggle. This is
thing.
Thomas Spark.
In a sense, I think it is time the Swans fight back. I'm glad that Joey Kennedy and John Longmire, because probably as a club we've been a little bit too passive over the last 18 months since the Giants. So I think it's fantastic. I think it's finally now up to the Swans to stamp their authority on the Sydney landscape, as they did last year with their premiership.
Grundy goes to Patton.
Let's get underway then from ANZ Stadium. And Big Dean Brogan doing battle against Mumford. Cornelio came charging through, and there's Rampy getting it inside to Pike, who might have got himself a free here.
I think the other thing too, Hutto, is Adam Good starting in the middle of the ground. Probably most people would have thought maybe this year more forward, but that's a big statement by John Longmire to say, no, we're going to get our premier dual Brownlow medalist to start the game in the middle of the ground.
Well, it is a Giants home game, but there's plenty of Sydney Swans fans, and a lot of them are camped down at this end, so they will give a huge reception to Mike Pike. What a grand final he played, and he drives it through. The opening salvo to the Swans.
Yeah, and that's what Pikey does very, very well. He really provides a contest, and I think that was one of their big strengths last year, the Swans. They had key tools in Lewis Roberts-Thompson and Pikey at times. You can see here, really well read by Dane Rampy. Just getting a quick kick and he'd be happy to get a touch. Yeah, a little bit stiff here for the Giants too. Not much you can do with that, sort of running with the flight of the ball, and probably just a knock to the head there. A tough ball coming in, but Pikey will give you a contest every time.
Grand final day, he did more than just give a contest, didn't he?
Yeah,
he was super.
Yeah, he did. And that was probably the difference in grand final day. The Swans players, if you like to call them the 15 to 20-second players, were just a lot better than the Hawthorn 15 to 20-second.
Rogan got first hands to the ball again. And Treloar, who has a reputation of being very aggressive, Derm, you've seen that firsthand.
He's a good kid. He's not against having a fight with anyone. Adam Treloar.
Ward sends them deep. And they were looking for a free, but Grundy's going to try and ease the situation for the Swans. Kennedy was in his mind. Ward showing his ability to win the footy again. Through it goes to Toby Green. He goes to ground and might be in some trouble here.
There's a match-up in the Sydney forward line, which is really going to suit Sydney. Jude Bolton's playing forward, and he's got Timmy Moore. Now, Timmy Moore's pretty good in straight lines. Jude's lost a bit of his agility, but he'll be able to turn him around, you'd think, on the incoming ball.
Shaw was able to hammer it forward. It was good work from McGlynn, wasn't it, to just keep that bubbling and not turn the ball over. Bolton didn't panic. Jetta got involved. Jack, as they swing forward. Again, this Giants defence under some early stress. Davis, Scully, too high, was it? No.
That was a good spoil by Stephen Gillam, aimed it to his...
Yeah, unlucky. It should have had a free kick there.
Thomas Buck.
Yep.
Get down to Moons and give us a thought on this ground in a moment, because McGlynn fires away. There's been soccer during the week. There was rugby league last night, Moons, and now AFL today. It does look a bit that way, I must say.
I went for a walk out there just before the start of the game, and I ended up fixing up about 100 divots in there. Look, I played out here a few times, and it can be a pretty ordinary ground at times, especially when you've got soccer. And they brought the rugby out onto it last night as well, all over the weekend. And it really has just, along the wings here, it's just destroyed the surface.
Joey Kennedy, Josh Kennedy, looks like Adam Treloar's trying to go to him, and Kennedy's trying to go to Green, and they're having a little bit of ring-a-rosy there in the bottom of screen.
They are indeed. Green knows how to get the footy. There's no doubt about that. He was terrific last year. Gets involved again. Canelio working it out the back to Ward. And Treloar's broken into a dangerous space. And was able to cut through Canelio, but away from Rampy. And that's great guiding of the footy to Scully. He's on the brink with a vacant square. Could be tempted, perhaps, to go for it.
This is where Cameron likes this.
Well, just didn't get it on the full, and so he had to run the gauntlet a little bit. And to be honest, he's pretty lucky to get away with that.
Ducked the head there. He loves it running back to goal and turning his opponent around. The thing I would love to see him do more is lead hard at the ball carrier to commit the backman to that lead and then turn him around.
So turning around more to goal than we saw there, where he actually had to turn around and come at the ball.
That's one in the back.
The other thing is Lewis Roberts-Thompson, who was a very good player in the forward line in the grand final. Went down back in the last quarter, but shows his versatility. He's able to start. Alex Johnson with the season-ending knee operation, knee reconstruction. So Lewis Roberts-Thompson, who was a genuine key position player through that 05, 06, 07. And so he's able to go back now and play on a giant tall.
15 seconds down. Yeah, Dean Brogan's at... Well, we've still got the serious time going on here.
Yep.
Good luck to him. I wouldn't be putting my house on it, though.
Yeah, that's probably a wise choice, Durham, as they're on the board with a behind. And we saw from the result coming through from Etihad, you need to kick accurately. The Brisbane Lions found that out the hard way. We've seen it time and time again. Reece Shaw got himself into a little bit of a bind there, and he tried to get Jetta to get him out, which is generally not a bad idea, because if anyone got the wheels to get it out of there, it's him.
He just ran too close to the traffic in the end. And the people up the field. It was good checking by Phil Davis and the likes, because Reid led hard to the wing, but he stayed right behind him, so he didn't offload.
O'Keefe is paying close attention to Toby Green, which is a feather in the cap of the young man.
There's a terrific ball winner last year, Toby Green. And that just shows the respect. Looks like O'Keefe's sort of going to run with him.
30 disposals or more 9 times last season, Toby Green. Kieran Jack stripped of it, so the Giants are really putting some good pressure on around the ball. Good tackling from Dylan Shield, and Ward was able to keep it bubbling. Hoskin Elliott and Moore with a bit of a charge into the pocket. Not enough for Smith. Scully, Grundy, Patton was there. A presence. Here's Green again, and again he took them on. And
that rule seems to have been lessened this second part of round one. The tackle fall forward in the back. We didn't see it Thursday night as much. Definitely not as much as week one.
Well, certainly in NAB Cup that would have been a free kick.
There's plenty of congestion. All players in 1/4 of the ground. Brogan, they found a way out, but not for long.
I think we saw last year, Hutto, you mentioned tackling already. We saw last year that the Giants had a willingness to tackle from day one in the AFL, Durham. And they had an ability to win contested balls. So they just seem to have naturally bigger bodies than perhaps the Suns in their first year. So it's not a surprise that they've already started this game tackling pretty well.
Goods has gone forward now, and Tim Moore's going to play on him. And that leaves Tommy Bugg to go over to Jude Bolton. Oh, good contest.
Good courage, yeah.
That's the new drafty.
Yeah, Plowman, he's got back and earned himself 50, so 50's being handed out at will here.
Earned himself 50 and a cork thigh.
This is at the other end of the ground. The trip paid for, it was the 50 against Scully.
Trip on Scully, yeah.
By hand. So now it's the Giants' turn to go in. Cameron did well to stay competitive.
Gee, they're blowing the whistle.
They are blowing the whistle. I tell you, both teams look happy to just bomb it into the top of the square too, Derm, and probably suit the Swans better. I know that we talk about Patton and Cameron, but they're probably not at the stage now where they're going to continually outmark Grundy, Lewis, Roberts, Thompson and Richards.
And Adam Goods.
There's more fluency coming forward to the centre, just like this for the Swans, though.
Mumford, a hard man to get around. Hampton looking back for Shield. McLean had a glimpse of an opportunity. Shield got a full tour. And he still got the handball away.
He did well, though. He didn't panic.
No.
Got it.
It's another interesting rule, though. I mean, I don't know whether it's a 360 rule, but it's like almost a 720 there. But I thought you're right. He's actually composed. He may have been a tad lucky to get away with it, but you'd rather that just in flipping the ball out to straight away to a Swans player.
Sounds like a good name for a show. Here's Hoskin Elliott coming through. And straight away, he feels the pressure.
Nothing silly. Get off him now.
Here it is here. We just look at it now. So he's picked it up.
Walk away. Walk away.
And he spun a fair way. Now, sometimes, but I'd rather a kid actually show the composure you mentioned rather than just flip it out into the corridor.
Brogan again, putting the fingernails to it. McVeigh.
He might be in a spot of trouble. He was saved then by the fact that he was face up. They tend not to pay those clutching the ball for too long if you face up.
You mentioned, Durham, that the whistle's being blown a fair bit early. Well, Ray's back, of course. Ray Chamberlain, back from injury.
Good on you, Ray.
So never one to be shy on the whistle. Hoskin Elliott out to the wing. It's a perfect kick.
Lucky kick.
Yeah, both teams started putting pressure on the opposition. As you would think, I mean, the Swans were the best tackling team in the competition last year, but the Giants are certainly standing up in that pressure stakes at the moment.
And again, Pike. Plowman. Doesn't look unlike Jeremy Cameron either.
No, he doesn't, does he? He's a solid boy too, isn't he?
And yes, we spoke to Leon Cameron before the game, and he was just saying how solid he is. That he's probably the most ready of the players that they've drafted at the end of last season. And there he is again, Plowman and Hoskin Elliott, both been busy boys so far. But Kieran Jack wants to get busy too. Didn't want to miss out on the action. Again, didn't find the going as easy as he would have liked. Ward's giving it straight to McGlynn. And across it goes. Boundary throw in.
Just Hutto, we believe that Scully may have been reported for that trip. So,
gee, it looked innocuous enough.
Yeah, maybe we'll get Moons to follow up on that during the game. But
He's a
free kick here now. If you can tune in on the umpire.
That's your line.
That's a free kick.
What was the free kick for?
The free kick is he was within 1 metre of the ruckman, but Stephen Gillam's arguing he was following his man past the ruckman. So that's one of those really, really technical free kicks.
That's Mumford. Pike kicked the first. Mumford, this is the second.
Let's see if we can pick that up again when we get a second. Now.
Gillam.
Oh,
He's ruled that Gillam was
he wasn't even the ruckman.
No, he's ruled that Gillam was the ruckman.
I don't think
Gillam was the ruckman.
No, he wasn't. No, he was just playing ball side of his opponent. That might get looked at by the umpires.
They can do now. Richards goes to full forward, and this time he's marked it cleanly, Mumford.
They're really troubling the Giants defenders at the moment, doing the two bigs. Pike, just the size. Pikey and Mumford.
Stretching them out.
Stretching them, yeah. I mean, they're both big guys, and they can both mark it, as we've seen. Mummy just needs to go back and collect himself and put this one through.
Phil Davis has probably got the best reach, but he's up against Reid at centre half back.
Kicked 12 goals 4 last year, Shane Mumford.
That's closer.
Oh, it was closer.
Yeah,
right,
it was, yeah.
And you mentioned goal kicking before. With all the stats in the game, it's probably still the most underrated stat. The ability to put the
ball through the post. We talk about hard ball gets and inside 50s and turnovers, etc., etc. But if you end a quarter, Doom, with 1 goal 6 instead of, you know, 6 goals 1 or 5-2, it makes a huge difference.
You've done yourself out of 20-odd points.
Yep.
Bauman was able to switch to Hoskin Elliott. Prominent so far into Shield.
Now, this is the area that Sydney bashed up GWS in both games last year. Just being able to get the ball up around the centre without having it turned around by Sydney's press.
Tell you, Hutto, no one tacks the ball in the air quite like Jeremy Cameron for a young kid, do they?
And here's the Scully one here.
Yeah, that was it there.
Now, we believe the umpire was heard saying he reported, so not 100%, but we think so.
Treloar waiting for it on the outside and then goes straight back in with a hive of activity. Hanbury in the grand final he played.
Again, Mumford.
Bolton and Goods is getting deep as well. It'll be all set up. Oh, it was a scrubber of a kick. And Hampton takes the mark.
For all the talent they got in the side, this lad, Kirtley Hampton, is probably the most talented player at the club.
He's a smooth mover, isn't he? He's got really, really nice skills.
He reminds me of Mickey O'Loughlin.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got it over his head.
He's going to get his own ball, actually.
Yeah.
Almost to try and rectify the mistake he made. Bolton puts the head down, and there's one of those self-inflicted frees that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Very hard to tackle someone.
Rays give the reason. Given the reason.
That situation.
Yeah, look, it's interesting when we saw in the NAB Cup, Doom, that it was going to be very hard in the season, either tackle from the front or tackle from behind.
Go to Jetta. He's not going to quite get the journey. Goods couldn't get the run up. The ball ended up getting through unaided.
There's not a lot of easy ball out there at the moment, Doom, is there? It looks like it's going to be a really contested type game. We talked about pre-game. Whether the Giants can keep going with the Swans in this game, that's going to be the biggest challenge.
Low ball on the way out. Giles. Good pressure. Devon Smith. Shield leading the backup crew. Jetta. Patton's going to enjoy that. Thumps him into the ground on the wing. Pike actually smothered O'Keefe on that occasion. Green left the path for Shield. Quickly fielded by Rampy. Now Jetta, you've got the feeling he's not going to be given much room if the Giants have got anything to do with it. We know what he can cut up, how he can cut up oppositions.
Yeah, no, absolutely right, Hutto. As I said before, it's a really close, hard-fought game. The Giants showed they could do that last year. They just couldn't do it for sort of 30 minutes a quarter. So at the moment, they've started really physically. They haven't been able to get inside their forward 50 that often, but certainly at the moment, no scoreboard damage at 1-4 to 1 point.
Jetta using his pace to lay a pretty good tackle, put a bit of pressure on the kicker. And Canelio's effort takes them up to the wing, and it's out of bounds. 9 points the difference. Problem is the Giants have got to be able to find a way to score.
Yeah.
Which was their issue last year, getting it in there enough times to even have that opportunity. Grundy sends it back to the wing.
I've just watched Grundy a couple of times doing it on Patton. He's got a great ability, Grundy, to get some early body work on him. Now, that's something the young kid's going to have to learn, just to be able to body up on Grundy before Grundy bodies up on him. And at the moment, yeah, Grundy's just got the experience to be able to do that.
Terrific tackling by Canelio. Probably the Swans needed a bit more protection. Treloar takes them inside, off the back. It's Shaw. He gobbled that up and quickly has Goods away. The Swans can break. Rampy call for it. Goods decides to go for a bit of a trot through the middle as things start to open up. Bypasses Mumford in the end, though. And Gillen was there with Davis to lead the clean up. Rampy against Hoskin Elliott. Cameron came into the mix.
Yeah, just the ball use from Adam going through the middle there had Mumford. You see John Longmire probably wouldn't have been happy with the execution. The idea of the kick was okay. You hit that lead up forward, settles the game down. But if you miss it, you can see what happens. It goes back down the other end of the ground.
All even. Phil Davis returned the favour.
Yep.
Canelio misses the man.
Finding a bit of the ball, Canelio.
Now O'Keefe, who has, as we've discussed, a defensive role on Toby Green today. And there's Mumford talking about finding the ball. He's finding it in the air.
Yeah, he certainly is.
Mumford, quick kick, was half run down. Parker, he anticipated it beautifully. But again, the finishing, not there. Touched his claim.
Touched.
just this period here while the Swans, they're probably going to feel the heat a little bit more in the game, the fatigue. Just while they're really fresh, just like to see them, GWS, even completely close the game down just to make sure it doesn't get out of reach of them.
We saw the kicking efficiencies there, which are very low. There's just so much congestion, makes life particularly difficult to hit a target, and we're finding that time and time again. Richards on the end of the Hoskin Elliott clearance, and was very nimble to bring it back into Shaw. He was about to be hunted, so sensing that, he goes for McVeigh versus Hampton. McVeigh with the experience, but Hampton was able to stay upright, and so too was his assistants in Gillum. But it ends with Kennedy, and Kennedy might just show them how to do it. He leads by example so many times, and he does again.
Yeah, Joey Kennedy now 5 possessions and a goal. It was a really good contest from both boys there in McVeigh. And we can see it there, Hampton. Really good contest. You know, both of them. But a good, McVeigh gets back in and puts a shirt front on Toby Green, and then Joey Kennedy, something he's really added to his game, the ability to go forward, Dermot, kick a goal.
See, for me, a great finishing, but McVeigh makes that goal.
Yep.
I mean, Hampton had to sit on him, and he was still able to hold the ball there.
So the margin out to 15.
You can look at the size of Joey Kennedy there. He's an on-baller. And Plowman's a good-sized kid, and he matches him for size.
And Kennedy, as you can see him going down to full forward now, he can mark it over his head as well, so he can be a dangerous forward. We've already seen Mumford and Pike worry the Giants' defenders, and I think Kennedy will as well.
Speaking of Kennedy's, that was Kennedy bringing it forward.
I think just the rush kiss, Hutto, at the moment. You mentioned how they're going to score, and it's just a learned skill, just a bit of composure. Probably the only thing separating the two teams at the moment is just a little bit of composure forward of centre. We know that Teddy Richards and Grunt, there's an example of it there, just a kick out in front of Kieran Jack, and whether he can make something out of it.
Well, let's see if he can. He's dancing this way and that. Hanbury the target. Ward came over the top to try and claim it. Parker was able to get them out of there. Clayton's.
And there's another example there, Derm. I mean, just and that's a hard one, but the composure coming out of halfback across the centre, just not quite there yet for the Giants, and they're getting enormous pressure on them by the reigning premiers. So it's not a criticism. It's more just it's a learned skill, and that's what they need to do in order to bring the ball nicely into their forward line.
And there's the inside 50s. Now it just goes up to 10-4 as it goes in there. Oh, Hampton with an opportunity. He's got Kennedy to try and get the ball to. Bolton fell in his back.
This is the kid we mentioned before, Hutto. This is the boy that can run it out a bit, and he can use his skills. They need him to get hold of the football, probably a bit outside defensive 50, getting it across the wing and running up the field and delivering to guys like Patton and Cameron.
He had a case then for an arm chop, didn't he, Patton? He certainly let Ray know about it.
Yeah, he's had 2 now that have been like that, but they're halfway there. The thing I disliked about that, Hampton kicked the ball. He had 3 teammates walking behind him with no teammates around them, so they're blokes who need to actually at least create. Just run 15, 20 metres, make a bit of a spread, roll forward and make the opposition think, how do we cover them, rather than stay 20 metres defensive side and just say, right.
There's a kick there, and that's definitely in danger, that one.
And they were protesting too, the
it should have been a free
players. Kick. Again, they're just hacking it out of there with Devon Smith. Shaw, something to right on him. And he's piling into the determination. We're pretty close to where the footy is now. We can see firsthand, Rosie. And Moons, you can see it down there. They're just scrapping hard, aren't they?
I mean, this is the danger period we saw last year, Dan. It really was that 20-minute mark. Now, you'd think they'll go a bit deeper this year. Again, really good contested mark there. But this is the danger period now for the Giants. They battle really hard. No scoreboard just to show for it, 1 point. But they're only 15 points down. What they can't afford to do now,
the next
5 or 6 goals in the next 5 or 6 minutes. So this will see how much their fitness levels have improved over the last sort of 6 or 8 months in the off-season.
Moore moved over to, as you can see, the big sausage eater, Mummy.
2 behind so far. Can he get closer? 3rd time lucky? He can. And the Swans have a sizable margin now, 21 points.
Yeah, well, that's their biggest problem at the moment, isn't it? Probably
all through the ground, Derm, I reckon they're down okay. Not great delivery inside 50, but they haven't been able to stop this. They haven't been able to stop the long ball in. Great work from Adam Goods. They haven't been able to stop this at all. Mumford 3 or 4 times down there. Pikey's had a free kick, kicked the goal. So this is the biggest concern at the moment for the Sheeds and the GWS Giants coach's box. Just how they can stop these big power forwards of the Sydney Swans.
So Shane Mumford, power up forward at the moment. 3 really gettable shots for goal.
Davis has gone back to him. It looks like his third opponent, so they're going to shuffle them around until they find the best result.
Brogan to Shield. That's more like it. They can get it in there quickly and give their dual young guns an opportunity. Roberts Thompson, that steely, experienced defender that he is, as you said, Mr. Versatile really these days, Rosie.
Yeah, he is, Lewis Roberts Thompson, and Mumford's 4 contested marks. But they've been okay around the stoppages. Good play there, but again, just that lack of composure going to their forwards, making it really hard at the moment for Cameron and Patton.
Sumner to Smith. Patton, Grundy, Sumner flashing through. Scully is a step away from being able to perhaps kick a goal. A step can make all the difference.
Rode that well, Lockie Whitfield. He could have really been nailed then. Look at those Swans players.
I mean, if you could talk about how the game's been played, that little passage there in the 5 or 6 seconds sort of sums the game up. No easy possessions there for the Giants. Great tackling from the Swans.
What are they doing, Reezy? That's not football.
What's who doing?
Yeah, look at the amount of Swans around.
There's 2 teams doing it.
They've got 18 in the back line.
Let me hang on. We'll make a phone call and make it one-on-one in there.
I'd like that. Every forward in the world would like that.
Yeah. Kennedy. Plowman got a little disorientated. Reid didn't, and was able to keep it moving to Jack. Had 2 or 3 to beat in there. Bolton's looking for help. Needs reinforcements. They come from behind. Hanbury trying to shake the kick.
Yeah, nice
kick and good stuff just to keep on charging down. And Kieran Jack and keep on going. Reid's deep, but he had another option. I think it was Bolton, but Goods was the man that almost collected. Ward was able to beat them to the punch.
It was so well done by Mumford then. I'll talk about it in a second after this shot.
Because Bolton's about to kick behind.
Now, Mumford led, and the Sydney Swans player who kicked from the flank summed him up, and Mumford pointed back into the midfield, back to the corridor as he was leading, saying, don't kick it to me, I'm drawing all the heat, I've got the last 3. There's a 3-on-1 in the corridor. They got a shot on goal eventually. If the kick actually picked out Timmy Moore, had it been a metre further or a metre shorter, it'd have been a GWS mark. Oh, sorry, a Sydney mark.
Element of danger in the kick in, safely to Moore.
That's the second time they've gone for that chip kick 15 metres up the middle.
Brogan, good strong mark. Timing was everything there. And
now this is the kick, Hardo, for Brogan. Just trying to find your way through what is a very good defensive team. Like that kick, getting it in, composed. Another one here.
Treloar goes for Patton.
They don't
well done. That was well worked.
Gee, I thought that missed it. I thought he was going to Patton there, but gee, look at Whitfield who's come down, started on the wing. Hoskin Elliott. Got a good pair of heels on him, hasn't he? He gets up pretty high, floats in. He's played wing and half forward.
Showed a bit last year, and then he didn't really play as many games as I thought he might play. Showed some real talent early in the season. Played just 10 games, but kicked 5 in 1 game, so that's not a great kick. Just in that, and we talked about it at the start. You just have to make them count, losing.
So that ball movement was better. Just that ability, Brogan, just to take his time, let things clear a little bit in front of him, then hit that little lead-up kick in the corridor, and then a really nice kick to Hoskinelli. Clearly not a good finish, but a much better move forward by the Giants.
Roberts Thompson goes for Mumford or Reid, and it's the former that takes it.
Crept around the big fella.
He's called it now, O'Keefe. He's kept Toby Green to just 2 disposals in the first quarter.
Yeah, he's done a good job, hasn't he?
What a brilliant season he had last year too, Ryan O'Keefe. Grundy. Bolton.
Touched. Just going to look at Mumford here when he leads. Now watch this. They're all looking to him, see how Tom Bugg's coming over, and he points in because he knows he's dragged the traffic. And see the GWS player creeping in from the bottom of screen, it created a real vacuum towards him and then points elsewhere.
Reed,
clever.
60 from goal. He's got Goods in the square.
He's going to outsize Curly Hampton too.
Happy to have it one-on-one. Goods is a bit of a wrestle, a bit touchy, a bit feely, and there it is.
Yeah, tough ask there. Tough ask for Curly Hampton, one-on-one. I mean, what's Hampton doing? 5'10", 5'11"?
Oh, no, he's about 6'1", but he's your flanker 6'1". He's a true flanker.
And he's claiming that Goods grabbed him by the jumper, which he probably did.
Yeah.
Probably did. If you're that size, you want to initiate contact so you know where the lighter man is so he doesn't jump against you and you just use your body size against him. That's the equation.
Close to goal. So it's just 50-50 from there. But he'd be happy to be on Adam Goods, I reckon. Swans have got 4.
And that's the difference a little bit in the game. You're talking about Hoskin Elliott has a shot for goal down the other end, and it would have put him 7 points to 23. Now the ball goes down the other end, and there's the grab there. The marking contest was pretty clean. He did a pretty good job in the marking contest, although he did maybe grab him around the neck. But tough ask for
but that's experience as well. I mean, you know, if you push front on with somebody and he's pushing against you, you can sort of mix up arms and get them a little bit high, and you can disguise it a little bit better.
There's no doubt that the tools are really worrying them up there. We've seen Mumford he's taken 5 contested marks. We've seen Pike get a free kick and turn around and kick a goal. Now we've seen Adam Goods go down there as the sort of deep forward, and he's kicked the goal as well. So the real tools and bigs are creating havoc for the Sydney Swans down there.
Brogan, Patton, Giles came through and made it tough for Patton to grab the footy and get away. Rampy, Sumner trying to keep it going.
Yeah,
Whitfield back to Hoskin Elliott. Whitfield looks a little sore after that. Patton was a little unaware of where he was, I think, then. Through from behind.
Yeah, Grundy's doing a really good job on Patton at the moment. You mentioned before down the other end, that ability to lock arms and try and get away with it. Hampton probably did a little bit, but then gave away a free kick. Grundy then disguised it, grabbed hold of little sneaky grab of Patton's arm and got away with it. So if you're a smart defender and you can initiate body, you can generally protect those little grabs and little holds, and that's what Grundy's doing, certainly in that last contest.
Patton and Cameron yet to register an official touch. They've both touched it, but they haven't been able to hold on to it so far.
There's an aspect with young Jonathan Patton that I really want to see get better at. There's a time when the ball bounces down. Throw it. Right now is when you go. You just make a step on your opponent. Whether your teammate gets it or not, at least you've got that step.
Giles.
Gilesy.
Shows them how to do it.
I think also the good centre-half forwards not only get that early step, they get body, they push their centre-half back. So you push one way, the centre-half back has to take a step back, and you've all of a sudden you've got 3 metres on them. And that's another thing that Patton needs to learn. He doesn't look lightning quick, so he needs to be able to work the opposition's body, work the space of where he wants to lead into, and get a 1 or 2 metre break on him every time.
It's probably turning more to that style of footy now these days, because it used to be you were always in motion. These days, because of the stoppage count, you're not always in motion. The ball's not continuous as such. It's locked in, it's shut down by bounce downs, boundary line throw-ins. Got another one here because they keep so finely placed up the boundary line here.
It's an important last minute for the Giants. 29 threes, probably a reasonable start. They had a number of opportunities, but a goal here, well, a goal here either way is pretty important to both sides.
Pike trying to get McVeigh instead. Got Kennedy, won't complain about that. Although the ricochet makes life a little bit more difficult for the Swans. That could well be in the back. It would have been 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no question. That was in the back no matter what rule.
Contested possessions 42 to 44 in favour of Sydney, so they've stayed with them, the GWS. The polishers showing through.
Canterbury dispatched of. Melcheski, Kennedy, Mumford. Goods, Melcheski again, hunted down by Sumner. With their pressure, tackle count 31 to Sydney, 21 to GWS. So the Swans have laid 10 more tackles. And still 1 more of the footy themselves. 2 ruckmen for the Swans. Green was able to get the clearance. Not that it's cleared it all that far. It's this rolling maul. Treloar setting away Smith. all-important kick. Unfortunately, just a fraction left.
Once again, Adam Treloar able to hit that ball at pace, knowledge of where it's going. He's a fantastic kid, Treloar. He's had 10 possessions, Ruzi. I think he's up against Joey Kennedy, who he was for the first half of this quarter.
Yeah, no, he's had a very good start. I mean, they're getting plenty of the ball. You're looking at Treloar 10, Ward 8, Caniglio 6, Shields 6. So they're certainly matching in most areas of the game. It's just the finishing forward of centre and the bigs that are really worrying them, the Sydney Swans.
McVeigh heading it back to the wing, and so ends the first quarter. Kevin Sheedy and the coaching team, Leon Cameron, and the Giants got a fair bit of work to do, but the effort's been there. The Swans on the scoreboard, though, have a 25-point advantage, 4-5 to 4 behinds. Quarter time here at ANZ Stadium. Round one clash from ANZ Stadium, and it's the Sydney Swans 4-5-29 leading the GWS Giants. 4 behinds, 4 points both sides, inaccurate in front of goal. But as we look at the Swans in tight, Paul Roos and Dermot Brereton up here in the commentary box. One of the edges obviously was the strength, the height, and the strength up forward, and particularly Mumford spending a fair bit of time up forward there, Rosie.
Yeah, he certainly caught the smaller defenders out and took some very, very good marks. And that was probably the difference. We see here 5 contested marks for Sydney and 1 for the Giants, and every one of those contested marks was Shane Mumford. So he hasn't been a natural forward, but his ability to go forward today has been pretty good there.
Didn't have to. They put it on top of his head. He didn't really have to. See that big pack mark? Yep. Just it's almost falling steeply on him. Well, that's a good one. He's got after that anyway, but on the mark. But that's good there. It's just dropping down, and he gets to the underneath it. Same again there. Drops on him. There's no real actual forward craft in the work. He's just a big bloke being plonked forward in a coaching move, and that's in the forward line, obviously at the other end last quarter, but that's how close he's taking them to goal. So he is very damaging, pressing inside that 50.
Unfortunately for the Swans, he's been inaccurate. He's kicked 1 goal too, but they'll be watching him closely. Moons, what have you got to report from down there at quarter time?
Not too much going down here, thanks, Hunter, but just looking at the GWS forwards, we spoke about down the other end with Mumford and these guys taking contested marks. Unfortunately, Patton and Cameron hadn't had a touch yet, and that's just due to great defence work by Grundy and Teddy Richards. And I think I heard you say a couple of times, Rizzy, they just put early body on their players, which just completely throws you off the lead.
What about that, Moons? Just while we got you, what do you do like, as a key forward when you were running around there, and that's the way they play? You played against both of these blokes. What's the best way to combat that?
Well, Derby, unfortunately, when you're going to cop these hits, all it means is your second, third and fourth effort has to be a premium. And right now I'm watching young Patton. He's copping his hit, but what he's doing is then just standing still and watching the game. He needs to get on his bike and work a bit harder, because these guys are very, very good at putting that early body on you and making sure you don't get that first lead. So it's your second, third and fourth lead that's going to get you the ball.
Giles has pushed forward into the forward line on the left-hand side of screen.
Yeah, to try
an in-ruck.
Yeah, give them a little bit more strength and height down there. Caniglio gives him an opportunity to get involved. Giles certainly knows his way around goal. He showed that last year, so it's probably not a bad idea. Cameron able to paddle it, and here's Toby Green from a very tight spot. What a kick! That might generate a bit of enthusiasm and run.
Yeah, it's a really good effort. I'm just trying to work out, Derm, did he start in the middle of the ground? If he did,
yeah, he did.
It's a super effort, and as you see, we go back. Look at him here. Bit of a fumble there. Teddy Richards has a good crack at it. Good tackle, good pressure, and keeps his feet. Really important. Not a skill, but it's really important for young players watching out there. You've got to keep your feet, and he does that really well. And he's picked that up and kicked that from a nice angle. So worked really hard from the centre bounce to put their first goal on the board.
Looks like he is inside 50, Toby Green. So he was obviously clamped upon by Ryan O'Keefe, and they've made the move just to try and free him up a little bit.
O'Keefe has gone to Treloar now.
Yep, Pike guiding force down to Kennedy, who
stands up through everything.
Just couldn't hold on to him in the end.
He's a bull, isn't he? See, O'Keefe.
There's another one.
Yeah. That would have been paid, I reckon, a couple of weeks ago. It's good that they're not.
Agreed.
Whitfield to half forward. Hanbury try and sweep again through Treloar. This is Melcheski. He was running out of room. McGlynn, there's so many players. Oh, that's close to holding the ball that you've got to beat if you're going to go back into the traffic like that. Treloar, Richards, Canelio had a chance. He gets his man high on Cameron. Yeah, high. But he paid the mark.
He did pay the mark.
He paid the mark.
Moons, the hand signal, I think, was paid the mark down there.
I think he paid the mark. I think he had enough on it. What do you think he does here, Derm?
Oh, he'll go to the banana. Yeah, he's
got no right foot.
Oh, I think he's confident enough on the banana. He'll come out a little bit.
So Jeremy Cameron.
That's it.
Superstar. And they've started with a couple of goals.
Yeah, good response. Very good response.
You just saw the indecision on Canelio when he went to kick the ball in there. I think just through hoping for the best in the team, I said, kick the ball. Yeah, he slapped below the wrist there. And I said, kick the ball. There was a half second of indecision by Canelio. Had he kicked it in there, he takes that mark in front of the goal square without any pressure.
Jeremy Cameron crafts a lovely goal across the body, and the margin now is 13 points.
You got to look at him, Moons, in the race before the game. There's a fair bit of Jeremy Cameron too, isn't there?
Well, it's amazing. You look at him on TV and you think to yourself, this is what we spoke about, you think 6'3", maybe 6'4". He's 6'5", pushing 6'6", and an absolute monster.
Green again fighting a battle up forward, but Roberts-Thompson goes for territory. Moore hacks it back. Away from Giles, and now the Swans through Rampy can ramp it up through the middle. Pike to centre half forward.
That's a good kid.
McGlynn, he can still get there. Bug straight back to Hanbury, who was forced to release Reid, and now Shields able to break away from Goods and Whitfield. Chance for us to see his skills perhaps, and that of Hampton, who can relish a bit of space to bounce and run and share with Cameron. Had concerns about the handball. It obviously wasn't flash. She'd stayed on the end of his hand for a long time, much longer than he would have liked. Kept it moving up to half forward. The heat has really been on, but maybe it's just opened up a fraction at the start of this second quarter. Richards, he tries to barge through and does it effectively. Used the extra muscle that they have. McVeigh took it from Kennedy to Goods. There's a runner in the road, Peter Dean, down there. And it's
ex-Carlton champ Peter Dean. He's having a run around down there.
You really noticed that the umpires are letting the guys stand in the tackle a lot. We've seen probably a couple of times where they're 360s. We saw another one over there with Hanbury, Cameron again. So they're certainly giving players every chance to get rid of the football.
Oh, Ward cleaned up his own teammate Whitfield, and that allowed O'Keefe and Reid to intervene. Deep kick over Gillam and Pike. Bug the first to recover. Kennedy dished, knew that Jetta was nearby, but they've done well to get out clear. Hoskin Elliott taking the mark.
It's a good kick by Bug. Was under pressure.
Treloar's had 12 disposals so far for GWS and 9 for Kennedy for the Sydney Swans. Action taking place on the wing now. Again, a plethora of numbers. Shaw just snatched it away. Hoskin Elliott in the right spot.
They have to switch it here because the Sydney Swans set up with an extra one down the line.
Notice Nick Smith's now gone to Toby Green. Green started this quarter off pretty well. So Nick Smith's probably their best small defender. He was on the bench to start the quarter. He's now on to Green, trying to shut him down.
Plenty of instructions being issued. There's Smith and Green. Brogan got buffeted by Mumford. Called a push, according to
that's
Ray.
Sometimes I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
They've tried to make it more understandable by the separation, haven't they? But
can lose the craft.
If you can't bump like that, I don't know what you can do. You must just like a basketball tip-off there.
Canelio.
You and I can play in the ruck then. Well, Moons, you could be a ruckman.
And I used to be people's stepladder there for a few years. I hated it.
Shield.
Oh, pick the bones out of that.
Low ball in. Sumner Tried to do that, but it's out of bounds.
They have settled a bit better, though, the GWS. Let's have a look at that. You know what he's going to hang his hat on? The umpire's decision there will be he took a look at him when he charged into him, and he'll say he took his eyes off the ball to make contact with him.
Sometimes, though, if you execute the skill too well, that's when you get a free against it, isn't it?
Or if the guy doesn't put any resistance, it looks a lot worse than what it is.
He gets ragdolled. Yeah.
O'Keefe, second try. Well, slightly better, but only slightly. Shield. Again, bodies flying everywhere.
You notice what happens with Sydney is there's a really good balance of one player at the ball, and when the teammates see that that player has first dibs on it, the others spread to the outside of the pack. Whereas GWS are so keen, so eager to do well, they all go in at it, and you get 3 against 1. The Sydney blokes probably leading first dibs on getting it.
Yeah, it's a bit that junior footy mentality, isn't it? You've got a lot of good ball winners in the Giants' side. It's just the ability now to work out who their inside players are and their outside players.
Good chase. Was a good chase, and it affected the kick. O'Keefe and Bolton there, looking for a way out. Found it in reverse. Shaw just hacking it forward. Munford again, a real threat deep. Hoskin Elliott, more. And forecast where it was going. Good hard running. And Davis is just to get it out of there as long as possible, knowing full well that it's going to come back in some shape or form.
Brogan followed Mumford into the Sydney forward line then to make sure that there wasn't an overstretching against the Giants back line.
He did well to really draw all the defenders to shore, which opened things up further for Smith. And then Goods just standing toe-to-toe with Moore. Dispatches of him. OK, so the umpire, now he's got issues. Had the handball. Back to Kennedy and Canelio. Runs the...
It's a dangerous handball.
Try marking that one. And he does.
Good boy. I reckon he's marked it off the chin.
On his nose.
Off the nose.
Bit of Falcon assistance done.
Yeah, he got one on the beak.
It would hurt from that height.
Gee, they come down quick. The last 10 when they're dropping, they come down real quick.
Back to Hoskin Elliott, seems to be OK. Took that one with his hands rather than his nose. And sends it back out to the wing. Brogan and Smith is a bit of a mismatch in size, but Richards initially spoiling. Suddenly thought I might be able to mark this. Jeremy Cameron, he glances up, and he does come to it. And it's 50.
Ray's back.
He was relishing
He's back.
That's not 50.
That's
it was in his natural running action. He put the hand on the back. I know we saw a couple of them in the... I tell you what, he knows it's not 50. He's given him 40.
Yeah. Got to get some air time, Ray.
He's a colossal kid, and he's a colossal kick when he really nails them.
I stood behind him at training during the week, and he had a couple of set shots, and you could hear the air coming out of the little grommet.
Wait for it. Thump. You could hear it. It's a big roost, and it is a goal. There's the future.
Yeah, well, that was Cameron getting it, hitting Patton on the lead. And you mentioned that's the future, Hutto, because they're both haven't had big games today, but they've started to get in the game this quarter, kick the goal each now.
That's 3 in a row.
Yeah, it is. There's a beautiful, nice kick lace out. And that's, there's John Longmire.
You're not coaching anymore, Rosie. You can say what you really think. You almost pulled out there from the coach's etiquette, didn't you?
Yeah.
That leg of Jonathan Patton weighs about 35 kilos.
He's a big kid, isn't he?
What a weapon it's going to be able to take a mark 55 metres out and know you're in the ballpark. Centre clearance is 7-1, so that's been a dominant factor. Treloar again continues to accumulate, and they've kicked off the 3 goals of this quarter, and all of a sudden it's only 7 points the difference.
Yeah, it's been a terrific effort from the Giants at the start of this quarter to get right back in the game. Just getting their hands on the ball, getting it a bit outside. Now we saw the first quarter was a real contested game of football, but now both teams are sort of getting it outside. I think their ball use going forward has been a lot better in the second quarter as well.
Canelio's been very good in the centre of the ground in this second quarter also.
Shield works it back. Here's Green, a little bit of freedom to design the pass personally for Jonathan Patton.
Dermy, the big difference right now, going into the Giants forward line, they're actually giving each other some space. How many times do you see Cameron, Patton, and whoever the resting ruckman is just fly against each other? This quarter, they've actually isolated, and that's exactly what Sydney want. They want to compete, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. You isolate them, you give yourself your better chance to get these easier goals.
So So Patton for 2 in a row, and to cut the margin to just 1 point. What an effort! Well, let's just find out a bit more about what the coach, or at least the assistant coach, Leon Cameron, thinks about Jonathan Patton and his development. Can you lip read them?
Yeah, he's a big kid. But the ball is getting in there with on a better standard now.
Astonishing effort this from GWS. 4 consecutive goals. And Jonathan Patton has supplied 2 of them. Jeremy Cameron 1. Exciting times for the Giants. Back in the middle, big heavy contact on Giles too.
Now, they're scoring because it's going in there in better fashion now. See, once again, only one's going for the mark. Nice little nudge underneath it. That'll work for the GWS.
Well, it could well have been a free kick. Smith, he could put them in front. And you know what? He has!
You don't often say this about the Swans, but they look a bit rebellish at the moment, don't they? The young Giants have really taken up in the centre bounces.
Yeah, that's where they look a bit slipshod.
Yeah.
Just in the centre bounce.
7-2 clearances in this particular quarter. We're seeing 45 disposals to 28. And that's a really good finish there. That's an outstanding kick for goal. So they're all over them at the moment. 21-16 contested possessions. Good second quarter.
I love the look on the Sydney Swans fans' faces behind all that too. They're just sitting there scratching their heads. What on earth is going on here?
I tell you what, one thing that has happened, the Swannies have put their A grade in the centre now, Rosie.
Yeah, you got McVeigh, Goods and Kennedy in there at the moment.
Well,
certainly do need to get a centre clearance, the Swans.
Trip. That's going in again.
And it's going in there quickly. Quick, smart. Broger's going to be the rover here, the big fella. Let's see how flexible he is. Oh, straight in the ramp, it gone.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Not flexible. Probably not his role, the crumbing role, I wouldn't have thought.
Probably not, but it was fun to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was good support by Lewis Roberts-Thompson for Grundy. Patton kicked the last couple. He recognised that his teammate needed some help.
There's a push there, an advantage. Reid motored off and then thought, I've got nowhere to go.
He dropped it.
Yeah, he did.
See, I don't know about Mumford came into Shepherd. He really needed to spread then and give Reid a chance just to flick a little handball over. It was actually Mumford that created that turnover for the Giants.
6 inside 50s for 5 straight goals for the quarter for the Giants. Be happy with that sort of efficiency, Rosie?
Yeah, that's good efficiency.
Keep that going.
And traditionally the Swans are hard to score against, even when the team gets it inside 50. We saw it in the grand final last year.
Oh, they're comfortable just letting it live in there.
Yeah, they are, yeah. But at the moment, it's not working that well for them.
Shield felt the force, but he didn't back down at all. Hanbury hasn't been a factor so far. Parker left it behind, and they're going again. They've got momentum. Treloar's been the instigator of plenty for them. This time it comes unglued. Now, Malcheski had Lewis Roberts-Thompson away, but the service is not particularly good. The bounce was quite favourable. Decided not to pull it back into the middle, instead goes to O'Keefe.
Good kick. Now that 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, he would not be able to hit that kick. I mean, that's the development of that fellow now. He's an experienced player, as you say, premiership backman, forward, whatever you want to call him, but just learning the craft. I mean, so many players through time, if you give them X amount of years, become good players, and they can execute like that through, literally through trial and error.
Yeah, it's just practice, hours and hours of practice.
Pike to Kennedy to Hoskin Elliott. Parker, and they're inside. Davis, who's hoping, looking, thinking maybe. Eventually Green to Spatstov by McGlynn. And then Bolton arrived. It was a perfect timing, but that is in the back, surely.
In the back.
It is. It's unfortunate because it was a great timing of the run and tackle.
It was unfortunate. It really was. And that's the difficulty when you're trying to run guys now down to him. So there's not a lot.
The one thing I'll say about that is that Tom Scully let Jude Bolton run off him to be that creator.
He didn't
He had to go with him. See him coming in from behind. He was wishing, hoping it was going to come in his direction. The Swans had hands on. He had to be closer and goal side.
So Jude Bolton very careful from there.
He's a good kick, Jude.
Tails off, but it's through. And the Swans are back in front.
Yeah, they needed a goal. They've been all over them, Dern. The Giants have been all over them. And you're right, probably Scully just didn't put the early yards in to get goal side of Jude Bolton.
He was thinking attack when the ball was
here it is here.
25 metres from goal. See, he's got the drop on him going towards goal. Tom played his attacking side, hoping the ball was going to come out the other way.
Yep. But it's very, very difficult to tackle from behind.
Really was needed from the Sydney Swans, and Jude Bolton so many times has delivered exactly what his coach has required over the years. Great to see him running around again too. McVeigh, here's Hanbury trying to escape the clutches. Suddenly the Swans got a little bit more purpose about them. Bolton's got another free. Goods charges back to the goal square, just held up long enough to make it tougher, so he goes to someone coming up at him, but a fumble from McVeigh, and that really does open the door for a bit of run and gun.
It actually looked like he didn't know whether to take that on his chest or take it in his hands, and in the end he sort of messed himself up.
Oh, talk about messed themselves up. Trelaw, one step too many. Kieran Jack working the angles and then screwing it back. Davis versus Reid. Phil Davis.
Well, Kieran needed to kick that earlier because Reid was on the lead. And because he dummied a couple of times and then bombed one up, it just put Reid out of position.
Good skills from Hanbury not to give away the free. Parker, O'Keefe, stand start back for Goods and Moore. Giles.
Just on that though, Ruzi, as a forward, when blokes were coming forward with the footy and then they avoided contact and screw kicked it around the corner, that's the one time I'd only ever scream at teammates. Kick the drop punt and accept that you're going to get a bit of contact, and your forwards, your teammates will love you forever.
Sumner. Here's Callum Ward. Hasn't done it. Hasn't had a touch in this quarter so far. Now he has. Bolton. Gave it straight back, and then Kennedy. A bit of service. Goods. McVeigh versus 4, and can you believe it fell right into his lap.
There's good body work though. Really good early body work. I think it was on Shields from memory, but it was really good. And a kick from Adam Goods, it was in the dangerous spot. A lowish kick that was able to sort of float over a couple of Giants players, but the body work was very good from McVeigh.
They really need to put up the shutters here. I mean, right now GWS believe in themselves, so they've got a sniff and they believe that they can hang in there with them.
Well, they've steadied a fraction, the Swans, with consecutive goals.
It's just been a little bit of panic coming out of the Giants' defence, hasn't it? We saw a loose sort of handball, and going through the middle of the ground before, we saw just a poor decision. So here it is. And there's
now Timmy's slowed hand to foot there, and that's Timmy Moore. That's what keeps it down there.
And then a fumble here. We see a fumble there. So first, fumble and an overrun, and really good body work there. Just launching off him, holding his ground, leaning back, taking a mark, and then finishing off for the goal.
Jared McVeigh, who spoke magnificently at the AFL launch a couple of weeks ago. A real leader for his club and for the competition.
GWS have dropped an extra man back, and the Swans are going to try and man him up and play 7 forwards.
Ward took it from Shields. Patton dragged down. The umpire waves it on. Melcheski, Rampy. McVeigh, reeled it in beautifully. And now there's a good hard look inside, plays the waiting game, and eventually sprightly lead from Parker. Still on the wing though, the Swans here. Just suddenly have a better look about them. Mumford. And now Ward marches away.
That's a bad kick from Parker. You just don't want to lob it into that area.
They can't bomb away here, GWS.
Oh, they do. Cornelio. Richards a rare fumble.
It was a bad first effort and a very, very good second effort from Teddy.
There's a 1-on-4.
And had desperation written all over it, didn't it?
Now the Swans.
Right here on this side.
Same thing, but they cannot kick too deep because GWS are set up against them.
No, 2 out here. They're Keith and Parker. A really bad decision made there.
It was surprising, wasn't it, Ruzi?
Yeah, it was. I thought he saw him.
So did I.
Yeah.
Now, Cornelio's got a little bit of space, but they've probably run themselves a little bit ragged here, the GWS boys. Just try and possess the ball without too much danger. Plowman makes space in the middle of the ground. That's probably not exactly where you want it.
And that's a mark to Parker.
It's a good effort. They're just starting to look a little bit tired, Derm.
Yeah.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, they are.
This is where if they can hold off and they can go in, you know, only a goal down, it's a super first half.
Reed is deep. He can't get a real run at it.
It's a bit of a hold there.
Keep going to Moore.
I thought Pikey had a hold of Timmy Moore's left arm. He's got the Shintaro working.
You're right down here, Rouge. You can see the Giants boys, hands on the hips.
Yeah.
They have spent a lot of tickets getting back into this quarter, and that's why they've dropped a couple back, just to try and stem the flow, make sure they don't get an extra, 2 or 3 kicked against them just before they go in.
Yeah, absolutely.
5 minutes can be a long time.
Yeah, a long time. And we saw that last year.
Big kick.
Davis backing back and feeling the pain as a result.
That's that Phil Davis, is it?
Yep.
He's got a cork in the back of the buttock, I reckon. Let's have a look at this. Oh, he's landed on it. It wasn't a knee. And his leg's taken out.
He's in
A bit of trouble, I think, over there.
Yeah,
be more than a call.
yeah.
Something they can ill afford, really. With
Well, he's low where he fell, so they cannot resume play if he's lying in the spot. I reckon he's
some lower back,
hip or
maybe.
back.
Yeah, it's his lower back or hip, Derm.
Well, that's not a good sign coming from the
He's in
trader.
some serious trouble.
Yeah, something's dropped out. Yeah, that'll be back. Pelvis, hip, back, somewhere in that mid region.
I'll tell you what he just did then, which is a really good sign, Hunter. It's a little thing, but you watch him on the way off the ground. He's calling a forward back to take his position.
Yep,
he's just called Jeremy Canyon back. That's fantastic play for a young. I know he's captain, but he's only a young captain. Really good play for that little thing, but he's just made sure that his position's been covered.
Now he's going to be tested perhaps down there, Jeremy Cameron, because the Swans are going forward smartly through Kieran Jack. And the goal umpire leans back as the ball went over his head.
Yeah, and that's really added that to his game. Kieran Jack came into the football world. Here it is here, just looking. Here it is here. This is fantastic stuff from Davis. Yelling out, making sure. Yeah, he's playing on one of the dangerous Swans players, making sure he's really added this to his game, Kieran Jack. Just a really good finish, nice front and square. Running towards the boundary line, straightens up a bit. And that's a nice goal on the run.
It is a brilliant story, Kieran Jack, because I remember draft day when his name came up, and it came up in, I think he was the last man taken or second last man taken in the rookie. There were people from certain clubs saying, oh, are you serious? You're going to take that bloke? And have a look at him. He's a superb AFL player now.
Yeah, he's a superb AFL. And look, the base of his game was always just his work rate. He was a fantastic kid. He worked extremely hard on his kicking. And as you said, now he's become a super player.
Well, Whitfield drove it in, and just for a moment it looked like Patton was going to take another one. Bit of hoppo-bumpo in the goal square. Good stuff too from the Giants to make life as difficult as possible for the Swans. Ambitious play by Hannabury. You can see his ambitions changing with every step there. And he suddenly realised he could hit Jeddah.
There's an important kick.
Jeremy Cameron, and you mentioned his size before, Moons, when you first got up. He actually has a little bit of the nasties in him, Jeremy, and it just throws a little spanner in the works.
And there's inch by inch the Swans getting clear. McVeigh. Not perfect, but it finds its target in the air.
It's the little fumble there. Was it Shields too? There's a couple of times they've been caught out just with some fumbles, which really has hurt them late in the second quarter.
Hampton stayed afloat, looking for a holding the man call. Doesn't get it. It's out on the foot.
Hannabury's having an effect in this second quarter. He's only at the 2 kicks, but he's and 8 possessions. Let's have a look at this. Now, that's Mumford there. Now, there's a fair bit of him. And Jeremy Cameron thinks, well, I've got a shot on him.
Yep.
I'll take it.
Gillum comes away and tries, but fails to hit Giles, and instead watches as O'Keefe takes the mark and gets ready to loop another kick high up to the square. Pike just too big, too strong, and too good on that occasion.
4-on-1.
What a terrific effort. You talk about terrific effort, Kieran Jack, which is absolutely right. Yep. This is the most underrated story of football last year, is Mike Pike playing a grand final and playing very well and being able to take that mark. Who would have thought a Canadian rugby player would be able to take a contested mark like that in front of goals? It's a great story.
Extraordinary. And the story continues as he pops it through and the Swans have been able to restore order.
Yeah, last 7 minutes, fatigue's really set in.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll certainly be looking forward to the break. I mean, 2.5 minutes. Moon's touched on it before. And here it is here. Just really look at it. You see bottom of screen. And a good thing here, he's making ground. Sorry, he's clearing ground for himself. He's sort of pushing Gillum back, pushing him back, and then runs, launches. And that's a mark versus 3.
Yeah.
That's a very, very good mark. And shows a good awareness of the game of AFL football now. Shows how much he's learnt.
You're spot on, Rosie. It's a really good mark, but also the other 2 blokes flying in second and third were fairly polite.
Very.
They can do marvellous things at that Swans Academy, can't they, Rosie?
I can't take credit for that one.
19 points the margin now. Jack hacks it out. Parker, and they're in again. Reed can't quite get on the end of it, but Adam Goods can. Adam Goods can. He can do just about anything, but on this occasion it's a behind.
Clip the post,
yeah. I thought that was a goal.
I don't know, I was just cracking up, Rosie.
It must have. You were getting very excited. But yeah, it must have just clipped the post. And here we see it again. And a little touch there from Ward was really important. And yeah, just whacked the post.
Very annoying.
Ricocheted off.
Yep.
So 2 minutes remaining now in the first half. Been entertaining.
Oh, that's a horrible
calamity or two, and that's as bad as it gets, unfortunately.
Lucky Playman backed away. The umpire called play on, but he went to the boundary.
Yeah, that was a horrible kick. He got thrown there. He did get thrown by call play on, and he sort of, he did get a bit spooked, and we can watch it here.
So he's come away to the side.
Yeah, I don't know,
rather
a bit
than
unlucky,
back.
but then rather than just going down the line as you suggested, he's made a horrendous blow. But he'll learn from that. He'll learn from that.
And Sydney have actually won the quarter.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? The Giants controlled the quarter for probably 15-20 minutes.
So they've answered all of the 5 consecutive goals that the Giants produced at the start of this term. One by one, they've just ticked them off, and it's back to a 26-point margin. Kennedy, they're hungry for more. Jack to centre half forward. Goods looking to dish. No one came, so he said, I'll go on my own. Back to about 40. Ward wasn't a mark, so he just threw it away pretty much. Green. Swans are circling. Jack freed it up for the left foot of O'Keefe. Quite get fully balanced, and it's a behind.
It's just been starting to get a little bit sloppy down back, aren't they? And that's just the fatigue. It's your mind sort of starts to play tricks on you a little bit when you get really tired. Those crisp handballs that were the first 10-15 minutes of this quarter, the sure grab below the knees is just, they've lost it now, the Giants, a bit. So what have we got to go? Not that long.
Couple of minutes.
Couple of minutes, minute and a half. Really, it's just about trying to control the ball now for the Giants if they can.
And the ball slips over the boundary line and out of bounds. Let's have a listen to what Kieran Jack has said about taking on the captaincy.
Yeah, a really big honour. A really selfless decision by Goodsy, I think, to step down. Probably thought it was time that he needed to step down and get someone new in there. So huge honour to receive it. Alongside Jared, working with him, I know I'm going to learn a lot. To lead these players out today for the first time is something I'll certainly cherish, but the bigger picture for us is that we get a really good performance in today and start our season off well.
He's had a big second quarter, Kieran Jack. 7 disposals, 2 goals. And the Swans needed him because they were really struggling in this term for quite a while. Kennedy, here's another one who's had a massive influence. 10 disposals for the term.
Yeah, I think both teams now will be happy with that siren to go down. Even the Swans are starting to look pretty raggedy late in this quarter, so both coaches would be happy for the siren to go and get into the sheds.
And I always felt the hardest second half of footy ever played, round one.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's when you get the only time tended to cramp during the season, after half-time, round one.
Agree.
So Keith settles on the mantra of long down the line. Giants have an extra body or two in the area. It's out of bounds.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's 27 points, and watching the game, if you didn't know the scoreboard, Hutto, you'd say it'd be maybe marginally in Sydney's favour.
Oh, look at that throw-in. It was a bullet. It was a flat bullet.
And the siren's going to sound. We'll get a chance later to have another look at that boundary throw if you right there, but not right now, because we're reflecting quickly on that second quarter, which was really promising, wasn't it?
It was promising. The Giants get to come in at halftime. They're 4 and a little bit goals down, but they actually know that they can score against the Sydney Swans, and they get a bit of belief. Sydney Swans, on the other hand, premiers, have all the knowledge in the world that if they put the foot down, do the right things, they're going to take this game away.
Well, more to come on how and why the Giants are able to kick 5 consecutive goals. 27 points is the margin we settle on at halftime.